dissecting a chilling, three-part saga that redefines demonic possession and ancestral curses. Grab your popcorn, turn down the lights, and let us explore the terrifying journey of Elara Vance and the devil who slept in my grave. Our story begins right after a failed exorcism. Dr. Finch, an occult specialist, tries to banish a demonic entity known as the Shadow from a young woman named Elara. But the ritual goes horribly wrong. Instead of banishing the demon, it violently rips the shadow from Elara's body. She wakes up physically free, but her mind is a blank slate. She has no memory of the last 3 months, a period of her life stolen by the possession. This isn't a clean break, though. Something is deeply, fundamentally wrong. When Elara looks in the mirror, her reflection doesn't always cooperate. Sometimes it moves a fraction of a second too late. Other times, its eyes hold a predatory gaze, ancient and terrifying. It's a classic mirror scare, but with a horrifying twist. The monster staring back is her doctor. Finch explains the grim reality. The shadow isn't gone. It has been forced into the place it was trying to claim all along, the Unmarked Plot, a cursed patch of earth tied to Elara's family. But because the possession was so close to being complete, a fragment of the demon's consciousness, its reflection, remains tethered to Elara. This shard is a poison, slowly twisting her perception of reality, whispering temptations, and compelling her to go back to the grave to reunite with its other half to protect her. Her friend Liam and Dr. Finch take Elara to a remote, fortified retreat, but there's no escaping a monster that lies inside your head. The shadow begins communicating with her through reflections. Cryptic messages and twisted symbols appear on mirrors, polished tables, even the surface of a still lake. These aren't just random hauntings. They're messages from the main entity, trapped in the earth, using its link to Elara to claw its way back. This part of the story is all about psychological horror, the terror of not trusting your own mind or your own reflection. Elara is no longer just a victim, she's a battleground. The first act climaxes as Elara realizes she can't run. She has to fight. Through an ancient ritual, she deliberately enters a trance, diving deep into her own subconscious to confront the enemy within. There, she meets the reflection. It doesn't look like a monster. It looks like her, but better. More confident, more powerful, more seductive. It offers her an escape from her pain and trauma, a chance to embrace the darkness and become something more than human. Elara is faced with a soul-crushing choice: reclaim her flawed, painful humanity or accept the intoxicating power the demon offers. This internal struggle is what makes the story so compelling. It's not about good versus evil, but about the darkness we all carry inside us. So, Elara confronts this idealized, demonic version of herself, and in a monumental act of will, she chooses her own messy, imperfect humanity. She defeats the reflection, shattering the part of the demon that lived inside her. For a moment, there's relief. She's whole again, she's free. But this victory is short-lived, and what comes next plunges the story from psychological horror into full-blown cosmic dread. Dr. Finch reveals a devastating truth: the exorcism, her victory. Everything, it was all a catastrophic mistake. The Unmarked Plot isn't just a grave, it's a celestial anchor point. It's a lock on a cosmic prison door, holding back a tide of ancient, unbound entities called the Unclaimed. By forcibly ejecting the shadow, they've destabilized the lock. Now, the main body of the shadow, trapped beneath the soil, is soaking up the power of these other entities, growing stronger every second. It's no longer just trying to possess one woman. It's about to burst free and unleash a legion of horrors upon the world. And here's the final, gut-wrenching twist. The Vance family, Elara's ancestors, weren't wakers meant to fight the demon. They were guardians. Their true destiny was never to defeat the shadow, but to contain it. The ritual wasn't an exorcism, it was supposed to be a willing act of self-sacrifice. If Vance was meant to voluntarily bind the shadow within their own souls, sealing themselves within the grave as a living prison for eternity. By fighting the possession, by trying to save herself, Elara inadvertently failed her family's sacred duty and doomed the world. There's only one way to fix this. Elara must complete the original ritual, the binding of the vessel, has to return to the Unmarked Plot on the night of the blood moon and willingly merge with the very entity she just fought so hard to escape. But this time, it's not as a victim, it's as its jailer. The finale is a terrifying, ritualistic scene at the graveyard under a blood-red moon. While Liam and Dr. Finch perform the ancient rites, Elara stands at the edge of the grave and embraces the darkness. She opens her soul and allows the full, immensely powerful shadow to flood into her. It's a horrifying and yet awe-inspiring moment as she merges with the entity, not to be consumed by it, but to become its cage. The story ends with Elara walking away from the grave. She is no longer the woman we knew. She is cold, ancient, and unnervingly powerful. Her eyes, once a familiar human blue, now flicker with the shadow's demonic red light. She has saved the world, but at the cost of her own humanity. She has become a tragic, terrifying anti-hero or protector who is now the living prison for the devil. The protector and the monster, bound together for all time. It's a chilling, brilliant conclusion that leaves us with a truly fascinating and dark new figure in the horror universe. What a ride! This story masterfully shifts from psychological terror to cosmic horror, all while giving us a protagonist who transforms from a victim into a powerful, tragic guardian. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Will you make the same sacrifice? Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next dive into the darkness. Until next time, stay safe. Every night, it's the same 3:33 a.m. The exact moment when Elara is ripped from sleep, heart hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird. She's not just having a bad dream, she's living in one. A desolate graveyard, a sky without a single star, and a single gaping grave. A grave that feels chillingly familiar, meant for her. But it's not empty. Something ancient, something impossibly malevolent has taken her place. She wakes up tangled in sweat-soaked sheets, the phantom smell of damp earth clinging to her. There's only one escape, one way to process the terror that gnaws at her sanity. Her easel. With shaking hands, she paints. Canvas is a storm of fear, a swirling black void, a skeletal hand clawing its way out. It's not just a painting, it's a mirror of the agonizing intrusion she feels inside her own soul. The exhaustion is starting to show. Dark circles have become permanent fixtures under her eyes. At their usual coffee shop, her friend Liam looks at her with growing concern. He tries to be rational, blaming her nightmares on the stress of her upcoming art show. It's just anxiety, Elara, he says gently. But she knows better. This isn't stress. This is something burrowing into her, something taking root. It sleeps where I should be, she whispers, the words tasting like ash. She tells him about the grave, about the entity that has claimed it. Liam, trying to ground her in reality, brings up an old town legend his grandmother used to tell a ghost story about the unmarked plot at Old St. Jude's graveyard, a place reserved for unusual births. The words hang in the air, cold and heavy. Later that day, a morbid curiosity, a cold dread, pulls them toward the forgotten cemetery. St. Jude's is a ruin of tilted headstones and overgrown weeds. As they walk through the gates, a sickening wave of déjà vu washes over Elara. She knows this place. Her feet move on their own, guided by an invisible string, until she stands before a small, barely visible mound of disturbed earth. This is it, the grave from her dreams. Her breath catches in her throat. Kneeling, she reaches out a trembling hand and touches the cold, humming soil. The moment her skin makes contact, a blinding white flash consumes her vision. An afterimage burns behind her eyelids, a coiled, serpentine figure with eyes like burning embers. He's there, she gasps, scrambling backward, pure terror seizing her. Back in her apartment, the walls feel like they're closing in. The experience in the graveyard hasn't brought closure, it has amplified the horror. Her phone buzzes, it's Liam. He sounds spooked. He'd mentioned the unmarked plot to his Aunt Martha, and she'd gone pale, muttering about unclaimed destinies and something called soul binders. That term soulbinder, it electrifies Elara. It feels important, terrifyingly so. She practically runs to the university library, her mind racing. In the dusty archives of the esoteric section, she finds Dr. Alistair Finch, a scholar with a reputation for indulging in the arcane. He listens to her frantic story, his expression shifting from academic skepticism to genuine alarm. He confirms the folklore. A soulbinder is a demonic entity, a usurper. It finds a human's predestined vessel, not their body, but their grave, and claims it, displacing the soul that was meant to rest there. The true soul, known in the legends as the Waker, is then psychically bound to the entity. The longer they remain unclaimed, the stronger the bond grows until the Waker's identity begins to erode. Finch looks at her, his voice low. Your symptoms, your dreams, they are alarmingly consistent with the legends of a Waker. Pieces click into place with horrifying clarity. The grave, the entity, the feeling of being hollowed out. A chilling realization dawns on her. I'm a waker. It's as if saying the words out loud breaks the seal. Back in her apartment, the entity begins to manifest. The shadows in the corners of her room stretch and writhe like living things. The air grows thick, heavy, and cold. And then a low, seductive whisper brushes against her ear, a voice that seems to come from inside her own head. You're waking up, little waker, just as I always knew you would. Her own hand, moved by an unseen force, grabs a charcoal pencil. It begins to sketch, her fingers flying across the paper with an unnatural speed, drawing a complex, chilling sigil, the very same one she'd seen etched on the grave marker in her nightmare. She's no longer painting her fear, she's completing the demon's artwork. Meanwhile, Liam, unable to shake his unease, has been doing his own digging. He uncovers a horrifying record in the town archives, a census from the year before Elara was born. A single entry makes his blood run cold. Vance, unnamed, marked stillborn burial site, Unmarked Plot. He calls Elara, his voice tight with panic. Grave, it's not just a grave, Elara. It was meant to be asterisk your asterisk grave. The words hit her like a physical blow. He didn't just sleep in my grave, she gasps, the full, monstrous truth crashing down. He took my life. As the realization dawns, a sharp, stabbing pain pierces her skull. The entity knows that she knows. That night, the battle for her soul begins. Alone in her apartment, Elara collapses, her body convulsing. She's fighting a terrifying internal war against the usurper. Get out of me, she screams, but her voice echoes with a guttural growl that isn't hers. A cold, ancient voice bursts from her own throat. I am in you as I am in your grave. We are one, little waker. Her body, no longer her own, rises and moves toward the easel. In the mirror, her eyes flash a terrifying, hellish red. She is no longer the artist. She is the canvas, the vessel. She's being compelled to finish his masterpiece. With the last shred of her own will, she scrawls a single word on a piece of paper and leaves it on the table for Liam, grave. Liam finds the note and races to St. Jude's. A thick, unnatural fog swirls around the unmarked plot, clinging to the ground like a shroud. He finds Elara there, humming a low, distorted chant. When she turns to him, her eyes are faintly glowing with that same demonic red light. He sent you, didn't he? Her voice is a silky, seductive purr, ancient and terrifying. My little waker's devoted companion. She or the thing wearing her skin smiles. The merging is complete, it says. In you, you are the perfect offering. So much fear, so much love. The ground around the unmarked plot begins to crack, a sickening red light pulsing from within. Elara's fingers elongate, the nails darkening, sharpening into claws. Just as a shadowy whip-like tendril erupts from the grave, lashing out toward Liam, a roar cuts through the fog. By the ancient rites, I command thee, begone, doctor. Finch storms into the clearing, brandishing a large, ancient silver crucifix that glows with an intense, holy light. Blinding pulse erupts from the cross, striking both Elara and the grave. She lets out a horrifying, dual scream, a shriek of Elara's mortal anguish mixed with the shadow's ancient, guttural rage. The tendril recoils back into the earth as the ground rapidly seals itself shut. The devil's sleep has been violently disturbed. The immediate danger has passed, but as Elara crumples to the ground, her fate and what part of her, if any, remains as terrifyingly uncertain. Thank you so much for watching. If you were on the edge of your seat, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more tales from the shadows. We'll see you in the next one. Stay safe